The time is now 6 p.m.
Before we call this meeting to order, I would like to read a declaration from our governor. On March 13, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott issued a declaration of emergency as a result of the COVID-19 virus outbreak. Subsequently, on March 16, 2020, pursuant to the authority granted in the declaration, Governor Abbott temporarily suspended the application of certain provisions of the Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, in order to permit telephonic open meetings. This was an effort to mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus by avoiding large group meetings while still ensuring continued governmental operations and preserving transparency in the decision-making process. Pursuant to this authority, Tarrant County College District gave notice of its intent to conduct today's board meeting as a telephonic and video conference open meeting. 4 trustees will participate in person for this meeting: myself, Conrad Heed, Mr. Kenneth Barr, Mr. Greenhill, and Mr. Hornsby. Dr. Diane Patrick and Dr. Gwendolyn Morrison and Ms. Teresa Ayala will participate via video conference or telephonically. I'll now call to order the monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees of February 25th, 2021. Is there any public comment? There is no public comment. So we'll move on to item 3 on the agenda, board business items and announcement. Item A is approval of the work session meeting minutes of January 14th, 2021. Are there any comments, changes, suggestions? I'll entertain a motion. Move approval.
So moved. This is Teresa Ayala.
Okay.
Second.
Ms. Teresa Ayala is second the motion. That was motion for approval by Mr. Kenneth Barr. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Item 3B, approval of the Board of Trustees meeting minutes for January 21st, 2021. Any comments, suggestions?
I move approval.
Mr. Kenneth Barr made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second, Diane.
Second by
Diane Patrick.
I think that Dr. Patrick. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Item 3C, trustee activities. We'll start with Mr. Barr. Do you have a...
No, sir, thank you. I'll pass.
Okay, Mr. Greenhill?
I'm going to pass, but would Reginald, would you like to kind of tell us about what you have plans for in connection with Student Week, March? You sent me an email on that, just kind of information.
Yes, sir. Be glad to. So the TACC Community College Student Week is next week, March 1 through 5. And this is a virtual substitute of the visits we usually make each session where we take a busload of students down to Austin to visit the Tarrant County delegation legislators. So this year is going to be virtual. We have students from each campus that will participate. I am going to send you all, upon confirmation of the other reps and senators, a schedule for the students and invite you to participate along with the students where you see fit on some of the Zoom meetings. So I'll send that out to you all and where convenient. The bulk of them look to be on Wednesday of next week. So again, it's for the students, but we'd like to get the trustees to kind of partner with them where possible. So I'll send that out.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Mr. Hornsby?
No, sir.
Dr. Diane Patrick.
Yes, the first of the month, on the 3rd of February, I attended via Zoom meeting a legislative update from the TACC, and they discussed some of the items that were going to be prioritized in this session. In particular, the holding harmless, the funding, And we're hoping that we'll be able to not have any less than we had in the previous year. And then trying to keep the request and the ask to a minimum, as always, to try to prioritize the 2 or 3 things that really matter the most. And certainly funding is among them. So that was my report.
Thank you.
Can I ask her a question? Diane, it's Bill.
Yes. Hi, Bill.
Do you think we ought to try to have some sort of Zoom in with our delegates in some form or fashion that Reg could put together, and the Chancellor, so that we can, there's a package that was sent to out. Since I'm on CATT, there's a package of what the ask is.
Right.
Do you think we ought to do that, or
Well, I think it's an excellent suggestion. I'm thinking, I heard Reginald say that when next week the meeting's on Wednesday, I believe, were intended to be for students, and we were welcome to come along. But let me just clarify with Reginald, that would not be appropriate time, or would it be, next week to have any sort of information provided by the trustees? Or is it more geared toward the students?
Yes, ma'am. It's more geared towards the students.
Okay.
So we might.
Thank you.
Reginald, we might, if we have a chance, if we could get together with our delegation or their staffs and sort of have a meeting with them, like we used to, of course, have it in the boardroom down the row. Have some sort of meeting if we can get together. I know that the TACC folks have already had one with some of the staff, but we can get together with the same ones. And
I know the Southeast Quadrant of Tarrant County had a meeting with Chris Turner. And so I think your question is a good one. And I would say yes, but I'd also say that sooner rather than later, because as all of you know, mid-March is about when it starts getting pretty wild and crazy time-wise. So I would say if we're going to do it, we need to try to see if we can do it quickly. And maybe one thing this situation has taught us is that we can operate on a lot shorter timeline in terms of setting up appointments and so forth. And people are maybe a little more flexible because they don't have to travel. And so, again, I think it'd be a great idea if we wanted to zero in on, in particular, some that we may not have visited with in the past, because a new chair for higher ed, for example.
Okay. That's a good suggestion. It is Community College Week. And so if there was maybe an hour or something like that, that since they're attuned to the community college, students mainly, but if there was a particular time, maybe later in the afternoon or some such time, we could
piggyback on that, I think it would be appropriate, and there would be a real strong focus, like Conrad just brought out.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Reginald.
Dr. Gwendolyn Morrison, do you have any trustee activities that you'd like to share with us?
Well, good afternoon. I just want to say it's great to see each and every one of you. I'm so grateful that we all survived and made it through Ice Storm Uri. And I want to extend a great appreciation to the Chancellor, all of the faculty and staff who ensured that, our facilities were in the best possible shape. And hopefully we've heard from our students and our faculty and staff, and we are reaching out in some way to ascertain if they and their families are well, and if there's urgent need, that we're doing something to address that. The result of the storm really is yet to come, and I'm hoping that as we move forward, maybe necessary. Can you hear me? We made the necessary efforts to ascertain that there are no lingering, unforeseen impact on our students and on our faculty and staff and their families. I'm hoping that the work that we've done over the years in addressing our infrastructure will prove to have been wise. And so I just want to say that I'm just glad we all made it through, and hopefully we can use the lessons we've learned this past week to guide us with compassion and love and concern as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Ms. Teresa Ayala. We can't hear you, Teresa. Unmute.
Can you hear me okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for those words, Dr. Morrison. We know that a lot of people were affected, so I thank you for recognizing that. I just want to take a brief moment myself just to recognize the passing of a mentor, a leader, a teacher, a veteran, an advocate, and a dear friend for numerous citizens in the Northside community. Father Stephen Hasso from All Saints Catholic Church succumbed to ALS on February the 12th. And Father Hasso bore his cross with such dignity and never once complained. He was born in Waco, Texas, and he was the son of immigrants. And he served in the Korean War from 1953 to 1955. And afterwards, he was in the reserves. He entered the Franciscan Order in 1957, and he arrived here to Fort Worth in July of 1994. Many things distinguish Father Hasso's work. And if I were to sit here and list it, it would take entirely way too long. But there were a few things that to me that really stuck out, in that he was a voice. He was a voice for the underserved. He was a voice for immigrants. He was a voice for the marginalized. And we are all better and thankful to have known him. For me, I think his gift was really his ability to connect with people in a very special way. You could be in a room with 1,000 people, different conversations going on, and he would always remain present and engaged with you. Upon his arrival to Fort Worth, he always expressed his commitment and his support of education. And he said that education was a basic vehicle to help people and communities to grow. And we had the good fortune that when Dr. Giovannini arrived to Fort Worth, Father Hasso joined us in a bienvenida, a welcome for him. And he welcomed the Chancellor with open arms and offered his prayers and support, not only for the Chancellor, but for the students, for the college, for the faculty, and everyone else associated with TCC throughout his tenure. This week, I attended a vigil that was presided by Bishop Olson, and there were former pupils, the friends, dignitaries, people from all over that just celebrated a remarkable life. It was a beautiful homage to a very humble man, and we thank him for his guidance and support throughout the years, and he will be dearly missed. So thank you for that, Mr. Heath.
Thank you, Teresa. Item 3D, appointment of a committee to establish interim trustee appointment process. As we all know, we've had over the past number of years trustees that have not served their complete term, and we've had to appoint a interim trustee, as we did with Mr. Hornsby. And we're only controlled by a state statute, and it's the board's wish that we have a board policy that specifies exactly how this is to be done. And I'd like to set up a committee to work with Carol and come up with a policy. And I'd like to know who would like to be on that committee. Bill Greenhill, we'd like maybe 3 people.
I'll be happy to serve, Mr. President.
Okay.
I'll be happy to serve as well if you'd like.
Okay. We have a 3-person committee. Mr. Greenhill, being an attorney, would you like to chair that committee?
I don't know why he would. You know, we're going to listen to him anyway.
Oh, Gwen.
You know, you always have my vote, Bill.
Oh, yes, I'm an overachiever since the beginning of time. No, I'll be glad to help out.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever.
let's do that. And so we have a committee, Carol, and we'll give them the authority to work on a policy and bring that back to the board when completed, hopefully pretty quickly. Thank you. Item 4 is consideration approval of the consent agenda. We have one item on a consent agenda that I believe is going to be withdrawn and discussed.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to ask that item 4C be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately.
Do we need a vote?
I second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Nay. Okay, we'll consider that item after the consent agenda is considered. And on the consent agenda, we don't have to read the items. I want everybody that's watching this meeting to know that this board has a work session the previous week, in this case 2 weeks because of the weather. And we have looked at all the items on the agenda, discussed them in full with a great deal of conversation and questions and participation and advice and help from the staff. So as we run through these things rather quickly, we want you to understand that there's been a lot of work that goes into putting this agenda together and then to ask for approval. So let's consider and approve the consent agenda, items A, B, D, E, and F and G. And we're withdrawing item 4C.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Greenhill, second by Mr. Hornsby. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. And Carol, should we consider the withdrawn item now? That'd be appropriate. Okay, let's do that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Barr.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt a substitute for the resolution that was a part of our agenda packet this evening. The substitute resolution was distributed by email to the board earlier this afternoon. In the substitute, I proposed some edits to the resolution that was originally distributed. My goal in suggesting these edits is to express in clearer, more certain terms this board's commitment and preference to utilizing innovative technologies in our construction program whenever practical. I believe the substitute language is more in keeping with our discussion during the previous board meetings over the last few months. This version, the substitute version, has been shared with the Chancellor and Ms. Allen-Ace, and I want to acknowledge some very helpful assistance from our legal counsel, Carol Bracken, in fine-tuning the language. I hereby move the adoption of the substitute motion as distributed. I'll be glad to read the motion or the resolution if that's desired, or I think everyone has a copy and should have had a chance to look at it.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I have a life. This is fourth Thursday, not third Thursday. So not everything is always adapted to board meeting. I have not seen the substitute motion. So Mr. Barr, if you'd be so kind to read it. And then who did it come from in my email? I can pull it up.
I believe it came from Ms. Bracken this afternoon about 4 o'clock, I think.
Could we share this? Could we put it on the screen so everyone can see it?
I don't think so. Let me just read it very quickly. The name of the resolution is Commitment by Board of Trustees to ensure that new and renovated facilities are planned, designed, and constructed with a preference toward utilizing innovative technologies whenever practical, and to support the adoption of a sustainability plan and a digital roadmap. whereas the Board of Trustees is committed to work that supports Tarrant County College being a student-centric institution, and whereas the board endeavors to ensure that all facilities will meet the needs of students and all other users for decades to come, and whereas the board is committed to the overall safety of students, faculty, staff, and visitors to Tarrant County College district facilities, and whereas the board is committed to sustainable development and operations in order to reduce the district's negative impacts on the environment, and whereas the board is committed to using state-of-the-art technology whenever practical to reduce energy consumption and carbon production, and whereas the board has a goal of enhancing the user experience of all new and renovated facilities by ensuring a high level of air quality and attention to health impacts, and whereas the board recognizes the value of gathering and using targeted data for the purpose of efficient operations of facilities, therefore be it resolved that 1, the board hereby sets a goal that all new, remodeled, and renovated district facilities be planned, designed, and constructed with the academic and student support mission as a priority, and with the commitments listed above as primary objectives, with a preference toward utilizing innovative technologies whenever practical. And 2, the board hereby expresses its intention to review, consider, and adopt both a sustainability plan and a digital roadmap to be proposed by staff as living documents to articulate objectives and measures of success related to smart buildings and to guide future updates to the design guidelines and resource investments that will be developed and implemented by the board. And 3, the board has the legal responsibilities of a fiduciary in the management of funds under its control and expects that the district shall maintain strict compliance with applicable procurement laws while implementing these goals. That concludes the resolution.
It needs a second for discussion purposes.
Yes.
Was it seconded?
No.
So
Would you
this is
second it?
Teresa. I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Comments? Mr. Greenhill.
I too have been in a meeting all day, and I have not had time to read all of this, and I'm grateful for it being read aloud. I have some concerns about why some of the what I would call exculpatory language was taken out. Innovative technologies, whenever practical, I'd like to have it modified somehow, somewhere, that we would be following the advice of our advisors. I don't want us to go down into a hole of being going too deep in the weeds and telling our advisors that we need to have. I'm for new technology, but I do have, I haven't had a chance to read all of this, and I think it sounds nice, but I have some concerns about, as I said, with some of the exculpatory language that was taken out and why it was. And maybe that's not appropriate to talk about in open session, maybe in a closed session, I don't know. But I would like, that's just my suggestion, is, if everybody, you've had a group of people, several, and I appreciate it in a hurry, the Chancellor and but we're a board and we're entitled to that discussion too. Maybe that's why we're here right now, but I would like some time to think about what has been written. That's my statement.
Mr. President, this is Gwen Morrison. I have a quick question. I feel a little uncomfortable. I'm certainly not comfortable moving to a vote. I guess it's because my brain was frozen last week. But, so what is, first of all, is there an urgency to us approving this tonight? If so, what is it? And then secondly, why do we need a resolution to address this? I'm not clear. I can't remember. Why do we need a resolution to address this?
Mr. Heed, can I respond to that?
Yes, I was expecting that.
This board asked the staff to draft a resolution to express our concerns and to formally adopt something as a guide to be used by staff and to make very clear to all the consultants and contractors that we work with the board's perspective on this. And we've discussed this in some detail. Part of what I tried to do in making these modifications, and the board members have received a red line version that shows what the changes actually were, was to simplify it a little bit and also to reflect the board's preference toward using innovative technologies. I think the term I used previously was that, and actually it was someone else that suggested the comment, was that we had a bias toward utilizing innovative technologies whenever practical. It seems like the word preference toward that is a better choice of words, and that's the reason that the modified version is worded that way.
And this has been reviewed by Ms. Alanis and the Chancellor and Ms. Bracken?
Yes, sir. I understand that's correct.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Diane Patrick. Yes, I had a question about Dr. Morrison's question, actually, about is there an issue with postponing this to a time certain, the next board meeting, so that all the board members feel comfortable that they had a chance to see the red line version and compare and things of that nature? Or is there any harm done by waiting to the next meeting?
I'm comfortable with delaying it if.
Well, I don't think we necessarily have a problem with it. We just haven't had a chance to see it. I apologize, but like I said, I was gone from the time, I tuned in here. But I did try to follow when you were reading it, comparing it to the one we had received originally, but I didn't have the red line version in front of me. So anyway, if it wouldn't be a problem, I think I would appreciate it if we could consider if we need a formal action to postpone it to a time certain, i.e., March, I think it'd be the 25th, our next board meeting. That would be a motion.
Can I make a substitute motion? Or
I'm perfectly comfortable with, I'll withdraw my motion, and if you'd like to make a motion to delay consideration of the resolution until the March board meeting.
I believe the parliamentary procedure would be to postpone to a certain time certain for what we're seeking to do here. Maybe I need some advice from staff on that.
I think that's correct. Ms. Bracken's nodding her head yes. So
okay. Well, then I'll make a motion to postpone to a time certain March 25th, 2021 board meeting.
I'm not sure that's the correct date, is it?
Well, it's accurate. Let's make sure it is the correct date. Yes, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Patrick, a second by Mr. Greenhill.
We need to confirm the date.
Correct.
All in favor, aye?
Aye. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Excuse me, but we need to make sure the date's correct.
I know we won't be meeting during spring break. Or did somebody cancel?
It is the date is March. The date is March 25th.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we have a motion, a second, and all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Okay, motion to postpone carries. We'll now move on to Section 5, consideration and approval of individual action items. Do you want to introduce? Okay, item 5A, consideration and approval of a request to increase the previously approved spending authority for Dell Computer by $450,000 to a new limit of $1,200,000 not to exceed. Mr. Pacheco.
Good evening. This request for increased spending authority is used to cover our significant increase in virtual desktop interfaces used by students, faculty, and staff since the school's migration to being virtually online for COVID. The VDI charges associated with this spending increase will be assigned to CARES Act funding.
Questions, discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. This is Teresa Ayala.
We have a motion by Mr. Greenhill and a second by Ms. Ayala. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Item 5B, consideration approval of an initial 18-month contract with 3 one-year options to renew with Guardian Services for the window washing services on Trinity River campus and Trinity River East campus in the amount of $312,250. Ms. Alanis.
Good evening, trustees.
Where are you?
So you may recall last week that this item and the next item relate to our operational costs for window washing. Since the work session, we shared additional information about the competitive bid that was conducted for this renewal, and it actually reflects a price reduction compared to our prior rates. So we recommend approval.
So moved.
Discussion? Questions? We have a motion by Mr. Greenhill.
Second.
It's not Alanis. No, by Teresa Ayala.
Oh, by Teresa Ayala. I'm sorry.
I think it was Dr. Morrison that seconded.
Dr. Morrison. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Morrison. We have a second by
Greenhill.
Mr. Greenhill. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 5C, consideration and approval of an 18-month contract with 3 one-year options to renew with Fish Window Cleaning for services on South, Northeast, Northwest, and Southeast campuses and other off-site locations in the amount of $216,084.84. Ms. Alanis.
Similar to the last item, this is window washing for all of our facilities with the exception of Trinity River and Trek that were covered by the last item.
Questions, discussion?
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Morrison, a second by
Diane Patrick.
Diane Patrick. All in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 5D, consideration and approval of contract with Freedom Construction for construction on the library data room expansion project on South Campus in the amount of $631,354. Ms. Alanis.
So this is an expansion of the data room that's necessary for the support of the technology infrastructure that's been modernized on that campus.
Questions, discussion? A motion by?
So moved.
Who is that? By Mr. Hornsby, a second?
Second.
By Mr. Greenhill. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 5E, consideration and approval of contract with Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman for additional Phase 3 services to renovate the 3rd floor of the Northwest Campus, Seattle, to create a corporate services environment in the amount of $50,650. Ms. Alanis.
Yes. This item was added since the work session and we distributed it via email. We became aware after that last agenda was published that we had an additional scope to add to the design team associated with the renovation of the third floor for corporate services. There were some unknown conditions that needed to be addressed in terms of that facility. We are still well within budget for the overall project, but we needed additional contract authority for this purpose.
Questions, discussion, comments?
So
I'll entertain a motion by, who was the first motion by?
Morrison.
Dr. Morrison, and a second by?
Second.
Mr. Barr. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 6, monthly financial report. Ms. Alanis.
Yes, so you should have the financial report in your board packet this evening. And the main thing that I want to highlight is a look at the revenue. We discussed last month that we would anticipate our largest share of property tax revenue coming in the month of January. And I will note that we've received about 70% of our revenue or our budget for the year. However, we've collected about $5.4 million less than we collected as of January of last year. You may recall that we anticipated a flat year in terms of property tax revenue in our budget. And so that's not an overly concerning reduction that we've seen so far. And we expect that those amounts will continue to trickle in as protests continue to finalize and those kinds of things through the remainder of the year. The other thing I'll note is that we are under budget we've seen about a $4 million decline in tuition revenue compared to last year. We anticipated a full 10% decline in our budget, which is the equivalent of about $6 million. So we hope that we're fairly on track for what we had anticipated as a loss. I'll note also that the revised rules for the CARES Act federal funding for community colleges actually allows us to consider if there's any need to address unrealized revenue as a result of some of the impacts of COVID. And so we'll certainly continue to monitor that as we manage the second phase of that funding that's being received by the college. And we're on track with expenditures. So we, even with a loss in revenue, we would anticipate a contribution to fund balance next year or at the end of the year.
Ms. Alanis, did we have major problems during the ice storm with our campuses?
So I would not describe them as major problems. Northeast probably has had the most significant impact with one of their buildings having ruptured pipes that resulted in water damage. Early estimates put that damage at under $20,000, and so we doubt it'll even generate an insurance claim. But certainly our team was involved in making sure that the facilities were weatherized and that we mitigated any damage very quickly.
Also understand, Mr. Chancellor, that it's not unusual for the community colleges to have a decline in contact hours. I read an article in the Dallas Morning News that some other community colleges are having even more problems than we are. But I think you told me that we expected the decline is what we've been expecting.
Yes, I mean, you're correct. The decline has been nationwide. In some cases, it's been quite extreme in the multiple double digits. You look at the literature and it'll talk somewhere between a 9 and 19% overall nationwide. I think that number is coming down now. Spring is probably a little healthier than most folks perhaps thought, but it does vary a little bit from region to region. What is consistent is the reason why, and most often there's a couple major reasons. One of which is first time in college students had to negotiate the onboarding process, particularly financial aid, is challenging without being able to secure face-to-face services, if you will. With our students, they have a lot going on in their life. And with their children staying home and their work disrupted in some way, that's another big contributor. So again, as Ms. Alanis indicated, we had projected a 10% enrollment decline. We have not experienced that. We've experienced less than that. In fact, in the summertime, we were actually up in enrollment. In the fall, we were off a little more than 5%. The number's not in yet for spring, but it was in 7 to 7.5% range at the end of registration, but that'll come down because we will add some courses over the second 8 weeks of the term where students will enroll. So we have not been, it's not pleasant to have an enrollment decline, but we're not anywhere near the shape some institutions are.
I'm not suggesting this, but I've heard that some community colleges are taking a proactive approach to this. Of course, I'm not suggesting that, calling on students to come back and that sort of thing. Do we consider stuff like that?
Are we through, Susan, are you through with your review of an investment portfolio?
We were still talking about the budget.
Alba, do you want to comment on specific initiatives given the experience that we're having with the pandemic and how we have reached out to students or other initiatives through staff and faculty?
Good evening, board members. So we've done a number of things. Just for your information, we do have an academic continuity plan that supports the students as we have emergencies like the transition from face-to-face to online, and then last week, the emergency of the weather. We've also made adjustments to the dates, the drop dates and such, so that the students have a better chance of feeling like they can get caught up and stay. That's a retention effort. We also have a cohort of students that may sign up and apply and so forth and don't actually register. And we have teams that call them up and so on. So we do a lot that we don't let people know about it, but we do a lot to support our students during times like last week and COVID. Thank you.
Ms. Alanese?
Yes, so you also have the investment report in your packet, and with the influx of property tax and so on, we've been able to increase our movement to pools, and you can still see we have a disappointing yield, as you can imagine, but I will share with you that we continue to work with PFM, and we would anticipate in the May-June timeframe is when we'll bring back a proposed revised investment policy. But more importantly, between now and then, they're helping us analyze our cash flow, particularly with our bond proceeds that we have in our possession, to determine areas that we can go for a little bit longer term to be able to try to increase at least marginally that yield that we're seeing. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, discussion? We'll move on to item 7, Chancellor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Heed. We have a few new staff member introductions. Dr. LeBlanc, would you please go first?
Good evening. It's my pleasure to share with you that Dr. Shoshanda Porter is the newly appointed Executive Director of the Center for Teaching and Learning. She has higher education and academic leadership experience, as well as program development, business operations, project management, process improvement, faculty development, client relations, and information technology experience. Prior to joining TCC, she served as Dean of Instruction, Academic Affairs, and Student Success at Dallas College Ridgeland campus, where she was responsible for providing academic and administrative leadership in strategic planning with the executive leadership team, managing curriculum and program development processes, facilitating academic partnerships, managing budget processes, and more. Additionally, she served as the founding director of the Center for Integrative Learning and Teaching Innovation, where she conceptualized and implemented several programs and professional development opportunities. She has previously served as Associate Dean, Director of Writing Program, and Faculty. With over 10 years of experience in the classroom, she has taught in a variety of academic modalities, including online, dual credit, and low residency. Shoshanda has a Bachelor in Writing and Literature, a Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, and a Doctorate of Philosophy and Interdisciplinary Studies. She has published various poems, short stories, and academic articles. And I'm sharing with you this evening her photo. And in the future, I hope that you will get to meet her face to face. She's on Zoom. Thank you. I'm always prepared, right? Dr. Porter, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Dr. LeBlanc. Good evening, President He, Chancellor Giovannini, and members of the board. I must say I am very excited to be a part of the Tarrant County College family. And I am really enthusiastic about all of the opportunities with CTL, the Center for Teaching and Learning. Of course, you know the great work that the community colleges do and the great work that Tarrant County does. So I'm excited to be a part. I am looking forward to advancing the 3G 8P and other educational innovations. So very excited, and thank you for having me.
Welcome, Dr. Porter.
Yes, you'll enjoy meeting her in person as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Eric Castillo as the college's new Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. Dr. Castillo is a second-generation Chicano and a first-generation college graduate from San Antonio, Texas, with expertise in critical race studies, social justice education, and higher education administration. With 15 years of experience as a DEI professional, Dr. Castillo previously served as Assistant Dean and Campus Director for Springfield College, Director of the Institute of Hispanic Latino Cultures, La Casita, as the Assistant Director of Multicultural and Diversity Affairs, affiliate faculty with the Center for Latin American Studies, and lecturer in Global Strategic Communications at the University of Florida. Before joining the University of Florida, Dr. Castillo was the program coordinator for Project for New Mexico Graduates of Color, a department working to build community among historically underserved representative groups at the University of New Mexico. Prior to coming to TCC, he served as a racial equity consultant for Presidio Graduate School, where he led efforts to enhance the racial equity work across the institution by designing a strategic racial equity resource guide for faculty. Dr. Castillo holds a bachelor's degree in communication arts from the University of Incarnate Word and a master's and PhD in American Studies from the University of New Mexico at Albuquerque. He started work at TCC on January 19th, and please help me welcome him to the college. Dr. Castillo, say a few words, please.
Good evening, President Teed, Chancellor Giovannini, members of the board, and community members. I have to say that I was pretty impressed with how I looked in the picture. I wanted to wear the outfit again. So you see me represented here in both live and on picture. I am excited and I'm honored to be the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Tarrant County College. It's not lost on me what the impact and the importance of this position is for our students, for our employees, and our community. So I take this position to heart. I am ready to help lead TCC's efforts to enmesh diversity, equity, and inclusion through 3GAP and all facets of our community college district. I've appreciated the great convenings and meetings I've had with departments and people across the district who have shared their wisdom and perspective with me. That has really helped ground me in this position and with this district. And I look forward to future collaborations and really making an impact here at TCC. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Castillo, and welcome aboard.
Welcome. 7B on your agenda is an update on the exercise of my authority through the COVID-19 virus and the pandemic. And you have that running total, if you will, of activity that's happened since April 20. There was no authority executed or exercised as of February 22nd. Of this year, 2021. So that again, we'll continue to receive that update on a monthly basis. And subsequent, if there's something to act for me in which to exercise my authority, you will be asked to act upon that at the subsequent board meeting. There are a number of accolades that I think are quite distinctive, and I may have mentioned one of these before, but I think it's worth, if I didn't, it's worth repeating, and that is the college's #1 ranking among U.S. community college and trade schools that offers degrees in the trades according to the 2021 Trade College Search Ranking Analysis that's produced by college.org. The ranking of the best associate degrees considers quality metrics such as time to graduate, average salary, and the debt level of graduates. And that's significant. These are really, you want to talk about KPIs and to point to is often it's hard in which to express the work that we do because we're often comparing to ourselves, what we did one year to the next year and the year after that. But when you're compared to other institutions and you're really looking at things that do make a difference, like graduation rates and salaries and ensuring that students come out with a lot of without debt is significant. Specifically was really recognized were our architectural engineering technology programs, construction engineering technology, electronics engineering technology, and mechanic and repair technology trades. So we're very proud of that recognition. Equally so, Tarrant County College has been named one of America's 2021 best mid-sized employers by Forbes, ranking the college 164th out of 500 nationwide employers with 1,000 to 5,000 employee category. Now, there are more than 500 mid-sized companies in the country, but they looked at 500 and we ranked 164th. This is the first time TCC has received such an accolade. The ranking by Forbes as a top employer validates TCC's efforts to cultivate an equitable and respectful community in which members are engaged and empowered and where individuality is valued. During the global pandemic, mid-sized companies have had to navigate, and we are considered a company, if you will, within this recognition, to navigate an array of challenges. And the companies on the Forbes list has risen to the occasion in adapting ways that benefit its employees, its students, and partners. And that's all quoted from Forbes. There were only 2 other community colleges in the country that were recognized by Forbes in the small, mid-sized, and large business categories. Lastly, something that came in yesterday, Tarrant County College is one of the nation's most outstanding online business schools according to Business Degree Central, and did take the #1 spot for the most popular online business degree school in the state of Texas and #2 in the accounting program for the entire Southwest region. And again, Business Degree Central's really looks at helping students find an online business degree program that works for them. And the most popular online colleges were determined by the number of graduates and the success of those graduates. So a meaningful matrix there, if you will, that we are being evaluated on and receiving those accolades. So we're very pleased, and I want to congratulate the faculty and the staff, certainly for those recognitions. It's not one person. Even though there are specific programs, there are a lot of individuals at college that impact students in all of those programs. And lastly, I want to mention back to one of your consent agenda items today was a mid-year pay adjustment. And on behalf of the faculty and staff, I want to thank the board for that consideration and granting that effective March 1. Thank you, Mr. Heath.
Thank you, Chancellor. We will now take a brief break. We will have a closed session and we'll take a 10-minute break.
Gwen, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. I wanted to give you a call tomorrow to see if you would be willing to speak to a class that I'm teaching at UTA in governance and
Sure.
some state reps. And you might be thinking, why, since you and I are representing the same position, why would I feel that I wanted you to be there? Is because I absolutely.
That's
Well,
fine,
thank
Diane.
If we want to mention that our next work session meeting is on March 11th, 2021, and our next board meeting is on March 25th, 2021. And if there's no further business, then we will be adjourned unless someone has an objection. Mr. Greenhill? Mr. Greenhill does not have an objection, so we will adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye,
Diane,
everyone.
do you have my number?